Ted Raimi gets violent, Cinderella has a curse, and Texas Chainsaw music, all on this Wednesday edition of
Spill the Guts.
I like it spooky.
Hello and welcome. My name is Clint, your gut-spilling, news-slinging, I Like It Spooky horror podcast co-host, here with your midweek news blitz. Today is Wednesday, May 24th, and this just in. Actor Ted Raimi loves horror so much that he's dedicated much of his career to it, providing fans with an endless array of memorable characters from Evil Dead 2's Henrietta to last year's morally complex Travis Hackett in video game The Quarry. Up next for the horror stalwart is Failure, an ambitious, violent thriller premiering this Sunday under the Fantastic Pavilion at this year's Cannes. In Failure, Ted Raimi produces and stars as a man forced to choose between financial ruin and murder with little time to process, resulting in a crime thriller that delivers on violence and takes on the daunting task of capturing this moral conundrum through one single take. Relying on his early theater training, Raimi states he had only 3 weeks to learn 90 pages of screenplay, then only 3 days to rehearse before shooting the one-shot feature. When asked what would happen if a take was ruined, Raimi succinctly answered, "Start over from page 1. Bloody Disgusting reports that the classic story Cinderella is getting the horror treatment with a gory retelling titled Cinderella's Curse and is coming soon. Classic children's tales including Winnie the Pooh and How the Grinch Stole Christmas have been turned into bloody horror films in recent past, and Cinderella is next, finding herself on the chopping block. Coming soon from Champ Dog Films, Cinderella's Curse, which begins filming next month in the UK, is going up for sale at AFM, and we have also learned that ITN Studios will be releasing the film in October of this year. Director Louisa Warren says, quote, "This is an incredibly unique spin on the Cinderella we all love and know. There are going to be some truly horrific deaths by her hands. I think the gorehounds are in for a treat in my dark retelling." And it is time yet once again to pause for station identification as we hear from our podcast network, the PFPN.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
And it's now time to cut into the last story of the day, once again brought to us by BloodyDisgusting.com. Gun Interactive's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre soundtrack and companion album are now available on streaming services. With the technical tests for The Texas Chainsaw Massacre under a week away, and to go along with the release of the Lo-Fi Leatherface YouTube channel, Gun Interactive has released to digital streaming services the official soundtrack to The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. To go along with the soundtrack, they've also released Remains, a companion album by Gun CEO Wes Keltner and composer Jim Bonney. Now digitally available on Spotify and Apple Music, the pair of albums allow fans to get a taste of what's in store. For example, The Massacre, the main theme song from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre soundtrack, is composed of pig screams, chainsaws, and scrapped metal, as well as other equipment like the Soma Lyra drone machine. It also features Keltner performing on the Apprehension Engine, the custom-made musical instrument played by the likes of Mark Corvin and Trent Reznor, and which was once described by Brian Eno as the most terrifying musical instrument of all time. Meanwhile, Remains was musically inspired by desert rock and similar heavy genres, while thematically exploring the events that occurred prior to those of the film. As Keltner writes in a Community Hub blog post from last year, this album is a direct reflection of what Kim Hinkle wrote, influenced by the events that led up to those of the film, and why the Slaughter family did the things they did. It's about the town that they grew up in and around. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre the game will launch for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC via Steam on August 18th. It will also be available day one on Xbox Game Pass. And we are out of gas for this Wednesday's news. I will be back with more news, including which film gets discussed on the next feature episode of the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast, set to drop this coming Sunday. Don't forget that you can find the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I will invade your ears again this Friday on another edition of
Spill the Guts.
Hey, what's wrong with you, man? Show some fucking respect for the dead, will ya?